everybody, and welcome to another episode of the MatthewJ Show. So glad you could join us tonight on actually a beautiful Friday night here in Philadelphia. It's warm, not as bad as it has been the last couple of weeks in the upper 90s. I can take 82 or 84 degrees anytime. I was able to actually do my walk outside today, which was good because it's usually done inside malls, and I know that's not good. I have to start getting more sunshine, no doubt about that. I need the vitamin C and actually need a lot of things to improve my health, but that's going to be a completely different show. Michael Voss is joining us tonight. As you know, Michael Voss is no stranger to the MatthewJ Show. Michael and I actually go back a few years with a lot of our back and forth on panels on the Next Gen Network. So we're ready for some serious discussions tonight. The public is waiting and our audience is waiting, Michael, for us to dissect the issues that affect everyone. Michael, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. I am impressed by your moon tan, but that's okay. Yeah, Matthew, we always have a great time talking about these issues, and I'm going to enjoy this. For the audience that don't know, Matthew never tells me anything until we show up. Literally, I get on and he goes, okay, here's all the questions. He doesn't tell me. He's like, you ready? Yeah. Okay. Here's all the questions. And you get to see it live with me. But I enjoy that. It's a challenge for me. I enjoyed the challenge. It's a lot of fun. So this should be good.
It'll be very good. And Michael, I'm Irish born. I like to keep things spontaneous. And I think that's the most realistic approach. You and I are seasoned observers. And we know what we're talking about. And I think that's what the listening audience appreciates on the MatthewJ Show and the Michael Voss Show and your YouTube and your X and everything else you're on more than me. But Michael, let's get started. Okay. And this is going to be a pretty big question. I can narrow it down if you want to, but I really want you to just go to run wild with it because it's going to be about New York City. It's going to be about, if I'm pronouncing it right, Mamdani, the potential future mayor of New York City. But what I want you to do right now for the audience, Michael, I want you to speculate on what you think New York City will be or look like under a Mamdani, however you pronounce it, rule. How will New York City look if he does come to power?
Okay. Mamdani.
There you go. Thank you.
It's Mamdani. And everyone gets it wrong all the time. So you're in good company with like everyone on that. So Mamdani is a true believer socialist who's never actually lived in a socialist nation. So he has no understanding of the impact of what he's doing. Everything he is offering is a copy of a socialist policy that has been tried somewhere else and failed. Talking about the grocery stores owned by the state, failure. That failed in Kansas. People don't know that. Having the free buses failed. That was also in Kansas. Every policy he's ever, the $30 minimum wage, massive failure. We already know that $20 in California failed. We know in New York City and New York State, $15 an hour minimum wage failed. And when I say that, I want people to do the math. Go to ChatGPT, ask it to do the math for you. The result is that while the 3% that actually get minimum wage, something that no one ever talks about, this is the maximum. The most people in America that get minimum wage in any given year is 3%. The average is 1.3% of the entire population. And for those people, when they get the minimum wage, what we see is they got about 9% more, 6% more pay, and they lost 9% more hours. And when you do the math on that, they lost money, each and every one. And that's why you see this has failed in Oregon, Washington State, in Colorado, New York, California. Everywhere they've tried this social experiment, it's failed. $30 would be an even bigger failure. So what do I see New York being? Have you seen pictures of Baltimore? How about Detroit? Downtown Detroit. We're talking about burnt out, broken, devastation. We're talking about New York not being the big apple. It'll be the rotten apple. We're talking about even worse functioning government and a worse functioning city than we've ever seen before. And you will see the big corporations will leave New York, which means we will be in further debt. We will be desperate for government grants for things like illegal aliens, which will help to break the social contract in New York, as it already is happening. And you will see more violence. You will see more division. You will see fewer families. And it will destroy New York's economy, and it will hurt the national economy as well.
Michael, this is a disturbing picture that you're painting here of your beloved New York City.
But that's what we've seen in capitalism. Communism everywhere in the world, in every single example, going back over 100 years, this has always been the result. Every single time. They will always promise you rainbows and unicorns, and this time it's going to be different. And every time it is always the same policies, the same promises, the same failure. Mamdani, he's a believer, does not mean it's going to be any different. He's going to fail too.
Well, Michael, hold on. Let me ask you this. I looked at some of his older tweets from 2020 and 2021, and he was a state legislature, right? In New York, was he a state
He's
rep?
An assembly member. He's
an
assembly
member. Now, all the things about defunding the police and all the pop shots he took at NYPD and whatnot. Now, if he was to get elected, wouldn't he need an NYPD a security detail? So all this anti-police stuff, that's going to be biting him in the ass, right?
No, he already has a detail.
Oh, they already gave it to him.
No. When he goes out, and if you look carefully at some of the live streams, if you look carefully at many of the pictures, he has plainclothes police. I believe they're plainclothes police or they're security, but they are armed and they're surrounding him. He already has that because it's about, like all socialism, he's on a different plane. He's one of the leaders. And so he has to be protected. He has to have certain perks that you don't get because he's a leader. And he needs those perks. He needs that difference, that comfort level to help him deal with the stress of making the decisions for you, because you can't be relied on to make a decision for yourself. No. That would be individualism. And he doesn't believe that. He believes in collectivism. So he has to make the decision for you. He has to micromanage your life. He has all the stress, so he gets all the perks. You get whatever is left over.
Michael, I have to ask you this then. What did he use as his platform? I was up in New York City a few weeks ago, and I try to get up there as often as I can. And I think one of the things I may have seen a video of the hot dog things on every corner, hot dogs. They sell you hot dogs,
vendors,
and things like that. Yeah, the vendors, and saying, "Oh, these prices are too high." The first thing I'm going to do as mayor is I'm going to bring them down. Did he run on some type of populist Democrat message? How did he win?
Free stuff. Same thing. Same reason why he's doing well now. Free stuff. He's going to come in and he's going to give free stuff. He's going to make sure that you're not responsible for the crimes that you choose to commit because you may have a suntan, or you may have come from another country, or you pray a little bit differently than other people. And so you'll get a break, a discount on your criminality, or you won't be considered a criminal at all. He will just give you stuff from other taxpayers because you came into America illegally, because he believes in open borders. And he doesn't believe that it's a crime to enter a nation against the law without authorization, without a background check. So he wants to give these people rewards for being criminals. He wants to give people free stuff that I don't know where he thinks the money's going to come from to pay for all of it, but it's just, that's someone else's problem. He's just going to give you the free stuff and you will say yes. Now, the thing is, you're not asking the full question. What are you going to give up for that? So yeah, you get some of the free things, but then to help pay for that, because everything has to be paid for, you don't have any police. He's going to reduce the number of police because he doesn't believe in the police. Of course, criminals are very happy to vote for him because they love that idea. Yeah, less police, and there's no self-defense. There's a castle doctrine in New York. It's almost impossible to get a firearm. Even if you get a concealed carry, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people who have jumped through all the hurdles of New York State's requirements for a concealed carry permit, New York City's requirements for a concealed carry permit. And right now at Police Plaza 1, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of applications on the desk that have already been approved. They are on a time limit because it's a 2-year license, and they're just letting them sit there as time is eating away on people getting that license. And the reason why it's there and denying these people their right to actually conceal carry that they were approved for is because New York doesn't have the paper to make the license with. This is New York City that gives illegal aliens an ID free of charge. You're an illegal alien. The same paper that they use for the illegal alien ID is the same paper that they would give to the concealed carry person. But they're not doing it for the concealed carry. They're delaying them by 6 months, if not a year at this point, cutting their time. So now they have to go back in a year, having only 1 year of their concealed carry, go through the entire process all over again, spend more money, more fees, more taxes, and they might not get approved the second time. And so this is free money for New York State. And this is what Mamdani wants to put in.
Michael, listen,
go ahead.
I listened to every word you said there. That is, terrifying when you think about it. We want to walk that difficult on obtaining a firearm. The audience wants to know because Michael, you're tapped into that. What's going on in New York City and the mayor race? Mm-hmm. Is there any inside observations, Michael? Is there any chance that he doesn't win and some kind of surprise candidate comes out of nowhere and wins?
Well, no, it won't be a surprise. We know. Here's the thing. There's 5 candidates in the race. I know this is probably a surprise for most of the audience out there. There are 5 people who are in this race. Of course, if you listen to the mainstream news media, there's 2. There's Cuomo and there's Mamdani. But that's not realistic at all. There's 5 people. There's Adams, there's Curtis Lewa, and there's also Jim Walden. So there's 5 people. The media has a political agenda. They have an objective here, which is why they say there's 2 candidates. Sometimes they mention with Adams being the outlier. He's the outside dark horse of the race, which is totally discounting the fact there's a Republican in the race. That's Curtis Lewa. And discounting the independent, the only true independent in the race. That's Jim Walden. Now, Walden is he's unlikely. He did get matching funds for $200,000. He's in the race, but very unlikely. And Curtis Lewa actually outraised. He got $1.9 million in matching funds, which is more than what Mamdani got, which is $1.6 million. So Slee was actually doing better in that metric at this moment than Mamdani is. Sliwa can win if Adams and Cuomo and Mamdani are running. They're breaking up the progressive Democrat voting bloc, and they're splintering it for various reasons. Adams is black, and he's also kind of sort of a Democrat, and he's the incumbent. You've got Cuomo, but he's also damaged goods because of Me Too, because of killing 16,000 people, because he's a criminal. He's morally corrupt. And then you've got Mamdani, who's got pipe dreams and socialism out the ass. So they're going to break up those votes. And Sliwa, well, he's Republican, and he's very much in favor of helping the people. Here's the thing. Most people don't know. There are, right now, the Democrats are happy to push through lithium battery plants in New York, 17 of them. They're going to build them all in residential communities. In fact, there's one about 7 miles away from where I live right now that I only found out about because Curtis Lewa was having a rally at the location, and I went there and I was covering it because I do cover local news. And It was right next door to an apartment building with a family and kids, young kids. We're talking about 12-year-olds and under. They never told them what was being built. It's 2 blocks away from elementary school for kids.
Yeah.
When these lithium battery plants burn, and they do,
Yeah.
they burn for about 7 days at a time. The toxic plume is both cancerous as well as toxic, and it can cover an area of over 5 miles. Again, there's a elementary school 2 blocks away. There are families right next door to where they're building the plant, and they didn't tell anyone. And by the way, it's it's half a block away from Boston Road, which is Route 1, the oldest highway
Michael,
in
how
America.
do they get past the planning process without any community involvement to build something like that?
Because they didn't tell anyone. They just built it.
Just built the thing.
They just put it in, and they didn't tell anyone. And now and you have Curtis Lewa, who's running, and he's very much an advocate against this. If you're going to build it in a commercial zone where it'll have less potential danger to the public and to families. And not one major news media organization covered it. In fact, I was the only news media covering it. None of the families in the region were told about it. The businesses weren't told about it. The representatives, like New York 15th Congressional District, it's Richie Torres, a Democrat. He didn't show up. He didn't care. These are his constituents that are potentially in danger. Or if they have a plan to make it safe, he could have been there to say, no, this is how it's going to be safe. He didn't care. And so that's the problem with this race. The more opportunity that comes to Curtis Lewa to get his voice out so people can just hear what he offers.
He's a talk show guy, though, isn't he, Mike?
He's a radio host. He's the guardian angels. He's been in New York politics for almost as long as I've been alive.
The difference can't be any. Like he's 71, right? Am I reading that right?
He is.
Okay, and our boy we've been talking about here on the Democrat side is what, 33?
Yeah.
What can Curtis do to establish a stronger rapport with not just a Republican voter, which I probably not a lot in New York City? What can he do to increase his chances? Or Michael, give me. How much of a vote could Curtis get? Or would you think he'd get right now?
We know that he normally gets in any particular race. We've seen him get in the 25 to 30 percentile range. That's normal. Okay. In this kind of race, though, because of the split with the 3 other Democrats all running, well, they're all fracturing the vote. Yes, Mamdani is looking at about 35%, but that's not a clear win. You're looking at them breaking it up, that Curtis Lewa is technically, he should be running about neck and neck. And possibly because of that split, that diversity, you could see Lewa taking the lead. He just needs some publicity. And if the GOP, New York State GOP, actually got off their ass, they put some money behind him, which they've been holding back because some of them want to support Eric Adams, who is not well loved. He's got like a 20% approval rate right now. It's a stupid idea, and he's a Democrat. But they want to support him because he's the incumbent. No, they should put their money directly behind Lewa, get him the advertising he needs so that he gets what I just described to you is something that families actually care about, that businesses actually care about. This is an important issue. It directly affects the safety of people across. There's 17 of these across New York City. And people should have at least knowledge of this, whether it's safe or not, whether they want to live next to that damn thing. And so if we give him the opportunity to get the media exposure, because seeing ABC, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to have this conversation. And if we do, he will get the votes.
Will there be any debates, Michael, later this year between the candidates?
Yeah, of course. One.
Okay, so
probably
I mean,
one.
Couldn't that also work to Curtis's advantage?
Depends on the question.
If he's exposed for, like what you were mentioning, free public transit and getting away with police, using social workers to respond to calls, $30 minimum wage, things like that. I don't understand that. And you've got Wall Street, you've got corporate America right down there, in Manhattan. I don't understand that, how they would put this guy in there. I mean, people
because
start fleeing New York City.
because they hope and they expect that he will be as corrupt as all the other Democrats.
Okay.
There's a lot of corruption in New York State. And I won't say it's only with the Democrats. There's Republicans and everyone. New York State's a corrupt state. That's just a fact. But most of that corruption is in the leadership, which is Democrats. New York State is a single party rule state. Democrats control everything. Anything that's going wrong in New York State has nothing to do with Republicans because we don't control anything. We have no control. So if it's going wrong and it's from the government, it's because of Democrats. That's not political. That's a fact. They're the ones in charge. They have control of the state legislature and the governor and the mayorship in New York. So what we need is, if we're going to have a debate, we actually need a debate where the questions are fair, that they're real questions that are actually dealing with the issues like the lithium battery plant, like what we're going to do about business, because businesses are running away. Fifth Avenue, which is historic. There's about 1/3 of the businesses on Fifth Avenue. Sorry, it's New York. You may hear some background there. It's New York in the summer. Kids on motorcycles. But Fifth Avenue, which is historic, about 1/3, 1/4 of all of the businesses there, they're shuttered. They're not. There's no one there. The businesses, it's barricaded. This has never happened in my lifetime. My family and I have been in New York City for almost 60 years.
Right.
That's never been the case. So we have a serious financial problem, which is connected to the societal problem, which is all coming from the micromanagement of Democrats over the rest of the people, and that is having a negative consequence. We need to address that. If you have questions that seriously ask that question, and you give a Sliwa a chance to actually give that answer, even a Jim Walden, give him a fair chance to actually ask and answer that question, then you'll see a very different result. But the media has already made it very clear they're not going to do that. That's why they only talk about two people in this race, Cuomo and Mamdani, because they want people to think that's the only choice you have. Your choice is a Democrat or a Democrat. It's a lie. It's a lie, and that is misrepresenting and abusing the power of the fourth estate of news media by not being honest with the people and going, no, there's 5 people here. It's Michael, up to you to vote for whomever you want.
Before I move on to the next New York issue, and I'm trying to decipher what you said there. You're saying that there's still a possibility, and would I characterize it as remote, that Mamdani, if I know I'm not pronouncing it right, could lose this? Is there still a chance that can happen? But you're saying all these things have to come into play, like with Curtis and whatnot. Is there a chance, or if you're a betting man, would you still say he's going to win?
80%. Mamdani has about an 80 at this point, about 80%-ish chance of winning. But it is something that could be eaten away. It's not a solid, guaranteed he's going to run away with this. That's not true. And we can say that in part because look at the most recent funding. He's got fundraising was outraised by Curtis Sliwa, a man who's not getting any attention, and he's a Republican in New York City, which is a 66-1 against. There's 6 Democrats for every Republican.
Michael, let me stop you real quick. Then you're talking about Curtis, Republican side. Why can't we get any high-level endorsements like President Trump coming in? I don't understand. Does Curtis have any endorsements in New York for the New York State Assembly? Anyone?
He's got some endorsements, not so much from the state assembly, but no one cares. Quite honestly, most people don't care about the state assembly or the state senate. Why? Because they're just Democrats. It's just the Democratic machine. And so since they're amorphous, they're just one big blob. They're yes men to the Democratic Party. No one cares. So
Okay.
it dilutes the power. And if you're a Republican that's endorsing another Republican, well, you're a minority in New York State. You can't do anything in terms of passing a law, introducing a bill. You can't do anything. So does it really matter if you endorse anyone? No. Now, if Trump were to come in and do that, that could make a difference. But again, there's people in the New York State GOP who are trying to push President Trump to support or endorse Eric Adams, to make a deal with him and support him, because they think that will bring in Democrat votes, black votes will go to Eric Adams, especially with Trump, and then he gets the Trump supporters, and that'll win the race. Based on this, again, the same split structure. I think that's stupid. I think that's short-sighted. I think that's myopic and hopeful, and it's a terrible idea. And there are people who hopefully are saying the same thing I'm saying right now to President Trump, saying, no, you go with Eric Sliwa because he is the Republican candidate and he is a true difference, and he is liked by people across party lines, and he has a history of his dedication to New York. I sound very positive on Sliwa. I've talked to him. I've covered him 4 times this year. I've listened to him. I even sat down with him virtually one-on-one for about 25 minutes, asking him some of these questions directly on camera, on the record, and getting direct answers from him.
He's a pretty sharp, Michael, is he a pretty sharp guy then?
Yeah. Yeah. And he's also a realist. He's a realist. He understands what his chances are. But I think that if he were to get a fair shot, again, I'm asking for a fair shot. If the GOP put the money behind him, and there is money there, and they can, give him the advertising so he has a chance to introduce himself, he has a fair shot. I would say Jim Walden, to be fair, he's the independent. He also deserves to be heard, whether you agree with him or not. And about 75% of what Walden says, I don't agree with, but he deserves to be heard.
I agree.
He made it to the ballot. He's running. He's doing his best to run. He's raising money, $200,000, small compared to everyone else, but he raised money. He's in this race. Give him a shot to be heard. Let the public make the choice. People can't talk about fair elections, or the question about whether elections matter. If you can't be told who's running and hear a fair opportunity to hear their voice, then it's rigged from the start. Stop trying to tell me that, we need to do this to get elections fair. There's not enough black people. Right? Screw that. That's all a lie. Every person in America who wants to vote can. Period. That's true. Everyone in America. No one's being stopped.
No, I got you. No, Michael, listen, I got some more New York stuff to talk about, and I got a whole load of stuff after that, but I wanted to get this next one in. I'm going to talk about one of your favorite people, too, that's who said no one is above the law. This afternoon, DOJ has officially opened up a grand jury investigation in New York Attorney General Letitia James for deprivation of rights. And also, I believe, still on that whole mortgage situation.
Yes.
Do you think anything will come of the grand jury? Is there enough evidence you hear floating around New York City, whether it be the mortgage stuff or, again, what she did against Trump, even when she was campaigning, saying, I'm going to get this guy. And I guess they're determining them civil rights violations as well. Is there enough meat on the bone here to get a grand jury and for this process to move forward?
Should there be? Yes. Will there be? Probably not. Probably would do better on the mortgage issue, which is still under investigation, along with Adam Schiff in California for the same reason. That would probably have more meat on the bone because there is a legal document that you can actually go to. So there is absolute fact that cannot be questioned. It is documented. It is there in black and white. And she knowingly did this. So that's something that you can definitely get an indictment on. In terms of the case they're looking at right now, whether or not she was biased, that goes into motivation, which is very difficult to prove. It's red meat for Republicans, absolutely, but it's more of a questionable issue. And you're not hearing a lot of people talk about it because Democrats don't want to talk about it at all. And you're not going to hear anything about it. The mainstream media is
Let me
keeping
ask you
away
this,
from it.
Michael. And I know these are legal questions, but as far as the composition of a grand jury, this grand jury would come out of New York City. So you're kind of alluding to that it won't get any further than that, just based
Right.
on the composition of a potential grand jury in New York City?
Yes.
That bad?
Yes.
Well, I hate to see that or hear that, because it's not just with Letitia James. You also have the Manhattan district attorney as well, who
Alvin
won
Bragg,
another term, right?
Alvin Bragg, no, he's up for he's going to be up for election this year, 2025. I know he's got a couple people running against him. Most likely, he's got a very, very, again, like 80% he'll win. But he does have competition. There is another choice out there. Again, you're not hearing about it because the media's already made its decision, and their decision is they want Bragg.
Okay. It sounds like New York City and the whole state of New York is more effed up than the state of Pennsylvania.
Oh yeah, by a long shot.
No, I got you on that. Again, just to say that she campaigned on getting Trump and maliciously prosecuted him for non-crimes, and that's illegal to do something like that, right?
Yes. Yeah. She got him on RICO, on the conspiracy.
Yes.
And there's no underlying crime. So she said he made a conspiracy, but there's no crime at the core of what he did. He did all this conspiracy, but what was the individual? There was only one charge, which he repeated 34 times. That's not a conspiracy. It's paper thin what she pushed through. But again, it's the temperament of New York. Remember, New York State is a state where a judge literally said on the record that in the Dexter Taylor case, which is a Second Amendment issue, that the Second Amendment has no power in the New York City court. It has no power in New York courts with that judge, the Second Amendment. Because if it did, Dexter Taylor wouldn't be in jail right now. So, yeah, New York City's screwed. New York State, the courts, the legal system, and the bias is very clear.
Michael, let me ask you a general question before we get off New York City. I know we're past the half hour. I didn't want to spend that much time. New York City things are very important, of course, with the mayor race and Letitia James in the state. But I wanted to ask you, and I know this is kind of like a general question, but I was kind of thinking about it. Just recently been up to New York City as well. You remember last year with Luigi, and then, of course, the terrible shooting at 345 Park Avenue a few weeks ago. Why are these shooters from around the country feeling compelled to come to New York City to kill corporate officials or people in corporate America, supposedly like the NFL with 345 Park Avenue? What is drawing them to New York City to commit these murders?
They want attention. They're broken people who want attention. They think they will be glorified and raised up in their passage. They're evil, again, and very much they're broken. And they know that they can get away with it because New York State has removed the ability for me to defend myself, even passively. I own a bulletproof vest, but New York State says that's a crime. That's a felony to own a passive self-defense, owning a bulletproof vest.
Wow.
It's insane. So I can't even passively defend myself. If we could, how many people might have been saved that day? Tamaru is the guy who did the shooting.
Yes.
It has a lot of problems, and some people said this was because of not just the NFL, but also because the NFL supports Israel, that kind of thing. But when it breaks down to is, there was no one who could stop him because we couldn't defend ourselves. We don't have a right. Even if you have a concealed carry, you don't have the right to have that in New York State.
Well, Michael, that Park Avenue off-duty NYPD, all he had was his handgun, so he was outgunned from Jump Street then.
And he didn't have his bulletproof vest on. Gee, what a shocking thing. And gee, what if all the people who were putting up the couches to barricade the door, bullets will go through cloth in a heartbeat. They didn't barricade anything. They gave themselves a false hope of safety by putting all those couches, if you saw some of the video of that day, some of the people in offices there, they were putting up couches to try and block the doors and
Yeah, I saw
block
that.
the window. Useless. Bullet would have tore right through that in a heartbeat because it's cloth.
Michael, are New York City corporations revisiting their security plan, their layouts?
No, they can't.
Are there a lot of off-duty NYPD officers? And when I mean a lot, I mean hundreds or more that moonlight, or whatever word you want to use, at corporations. And they're I guess this guy you can walk into any lobby. Maybe that'll be changed now. The guy got in the lobby, and that's where he shot the cop, right?
Well, yes, there are. It is in the hundreds, if not thousands. Remember, there's about 30,000 right now, 30,000 police officers in New York. Usually it's about 42. We're down to 30. So we don't have enough police officers. Yes, it is very normal for police officers in their time off to go and be private security. Very common to see happen. No, they're not going to change their policies, because what are they going to do? Get armed guards? They can't, because New York State hates Second Amendment. It hates anyone being armed. So no, you're not going to be able to protect your employees or the public any more than you already have been. They'll maybe put up some, oh, look, we've got a metal detector. Like, that matters. We'll put up a sign, gun-free zone. Doesn't really matter. And when you have, at the same time, we should say something that's very important. Part of the reason why this happened is because of the Free Luigi movement. The nut jobs that say Luigi was a great guy, he was a good guy, look what he did a good thing. You are the reason why there are people endangered and dying because of nut jobs like Tamar, who go in and say, I can be famous, people will love me, I'll just go after a corporation, and by the way, I'll run into a bunch of innocent people who have no idea what's going on, and he'll shoot them too. And so every innocent life, all of those innocent lives, are on the heads of the Free Luigi movement, as well as New York State's legislature that denies people the right to defend themselves. Women are suffering across this entire state and New York City, being abused every day because they're denied the opportunity to defend themselves. And the media doesn't want to forward it like that because they would lose.
So if you're a New York City office worker, that'd be in the thousands or tens of thousands, what you're saying essentially, Michael, you're sitting ducks, even with security there.
Hundreds of thousands, if not millions, and yes.
That is a terrible thing. Something I have to
truth.
I have to think about when I'm up there. Now, Michael, I do want to move on because I want to get your feedback on this situation. There was a Boston sheriff that was arrested today by ICE because he was refusing to cooperate with ICE investigations. I missed that story. Boston being a sanctuary city. If I have that story right, I don't know if you heard that. I heard about a member of I believe it was Massachusetts State Police, might be state police, might be local, who was an illegal alien working in the police. And I heard that story too, Michael. I heard that one too. But this
one today I didn't hear about yet.
Yeah, this one's different, and it's interesting. I wanted to ask you. I forgot where I wrote the damn follow up at. The whole sanctuary city policy. I know Carolyn Yvette, Trump's spokesperson, has come out and she gave a list of 16 of the biggest sanctuary cities. And I think it's about time that we're putting the spotlight on exactly what is transpiring in these sanctuary cities and what they're doing. And what they're doing is endangering people like you and I out there because they want to make it safe for the criminals, and they think the cops are the perps. Now, I know that happens here in Philadelphia, okay, because we have a Soros bought and sold DA, Larry Krasner, that thinks the cops are the perps and people that are getting released that shouldn't be out there. And that's what Mamdani seems like he wants to do from Jump Street. He doesn't really believe in incarceration. If I was reading some of his past tweets, right, Michael? Is that true or not?
You're reading it correctly. And him and Alvin Bragg, they believe in the bail reform, which has been a failed policy. That experiment failed. We've seen crime and repeat crimes go up because of this bail reform. It doesn't work. It never was going to work, and everyone knew it. But we're seeing, and in these 16 cities, which are, New York, Boston, Chicago, Baltimore. It's going to be LA, Colorado, Aurora, Colorado, Boulder, Austin, Texas. I know them off the top of my head. Okay. These are the usual suspects, the bluer than blue cities across the country with the largest populations. And in each of these places, they are trying to allow illegal aliens in. Why? The question we have to ask is, why are they willing to endanger people? Because we have seen that the more people you have come in illegally that have no authorization and you have no background check on these individuals, the more that we are seeing that many criminals are coming in with that large group, and many of them are vile individuals that go on to do mass murders and target women and children. And that's because it's we have so many of them that we have this huge proportion that are these violent additional criminals. The reason why is the census. The simplest answer to this is the census. New York State is losing and has been losing about 200 to 300,000 people a year are leaving New York State. That's the population. We're just losing every year. We're leading the mass exodus of the state. New York is number 1. California is number 2. New Jersey is about number 3. And that's been true for a decade now. And when you think about that, well, if we're losing population in those large sum, every congressional district is 720,000 people. So in 3 years, that's one congressman. Every 3 years, that's a congressman. We've been doing this for over a decade. New York should lose 3 members of Congress, possibly 4. We only lost 1. Why? Because they started counting under the Biden administration. One of the first things that he did in 2021 is say that the census can count illegal aliens. And when they did that, they saved 2 seats in New York, 5 seats in California, go on through all the different states. This is why they're willing to put people in danger, because Democrats care about power more than they do about the people. Same thing what we're seeing with Texas redistricting right now. They care about power. Oh, we can go down, take a vote, and help the flood victims get the money they need to get their lives in order, to try and rebuild and fix their lives, to help businesses get started back up. American citizens are going to be, they are being directly harmed right now by those Texas Democrats not doing their job and breaking their oath of office. And the mainstream media doesn't want to mention that. That's the reality of it. And yet, look at what they're doing. Why? Because they want to make it as easy as possible for Democrats to get reelected and to hold power. That's what this is about. It's selfish. It is about the political party over the people. It has no benefit for the people in Texas, none whatsoever. But they're
Michael,
doing it anyway.
A quick observation. I was listening to one of your podcasts the other day, and correct me if I'm wrong. You did say gerrymandering is all about power, and that you don't care if it's the Republicans or Democrats. You don't like it. Was that, you said that the other day? Is that correct or not?
I did. Gerrymandering is absolutely about party power. It has nothing to do with the people. It doesn't help people in any way, shape, or form. It has nothing to do with it at all. And it doesn't matter. Republicans do it. Republicans have started doing gerrymandering. Democrats have been doing it for a long time. Look at New York. And since 2010, we've done it 3 times. We've redistricted, and now they want to do it a 4th. California has done it. Illinois. This is not new. It is not an argument that hasn't been had before. It's not a surprise to anyone. They just don't like that. Democrats want an inroad into Texas, and they want to maintain that inroad. Republicans in Texas say, screw you. Guess what? Good for the goose, good for the gander. Let's move on. That's not the most important issue.
Did Hochul invite some of the Texas Democrats to stay with her, and you're safe with us, right?
They are. They're hidden. Jolanda Jones, in particular, who was trying to, on Don Lemon this week, tried to equate her abandoning her constituents, breaking her oath of office, harming American citizens who are trying to recover from a flood and fix their businesses. And she said that is the same thing as the Holocaust, that it is a black genocide. She said this on Don Lemon this week. And then when questioned about it, she retracted everything. No, I went too far. Yeah, but you said it. And by the way, Don Lemon didn't go over her retraction, and the mainstream news media didn't cover the story at all. So you're not going to find out. Sadly, I normally report on and follow what's in the left-leaning news media. So they don't say, oh, well, you're just being a right-wing parrot. But this is a story that you will only find. I found out about it in Daily Caller, confirmed it with the Fox News, went to Don Lemon's website himself, listened to the actual interview itself, and I have links for all of that in case people wonder. She did say this. She did equate that what is happening in Texas is a black genocide like the Holocaust. She has no clue what she's talking about. That is absolutely some kind of morbid fantasy of hers, and she retracted it because she was wrong. Don Lemon didn't make that, reissue that, and so that's the kind of thing you have going out there. It's sick. It is sick and twisted.
Michael, that's why my followers, they love it when I have you on the show, because I know you don't bullshit around, that you do your due diligence, you do your research. And I know there's a lot of information out there. You know, I do a lot of going through a lot of information 24/7 as well. I'm like you, kind of like an information junkie. I want to get your take on this because people are asking me about it. And I'm trying to get some of the stuff from Ken Paxton and what he's doing as far as these Democrats that have not come in. They have not been able to get that quorum yet. Is that correct?
That's correct. Still have not. Yeah.
Okay. And as far as in the legal realm.
But to answer your question, yes, the Democrats are in New York, they're in Chicago, and now they're going over to Gavin Newsom in California. Basically, they're running through the bluer than blue sanctuary states to try and hide from the FBI, who are trying to track them down.
Have they absconded from their duties in Texas?
Yes, absolutely. 100%.
Okay. Can you be charged for that? Well, Michael, how about this? And I know you probably know certainly a lot more than I do about this. The way Ken Paxton's talking and Abbott and whatnot, can they be removed from their seats? And what happens after that?
Yes, there is a process to remove them from their seats. Will that be done? I would say yes, it should. And yes, because they've abandoned their constituents, they've abandoned their oath, they are harming American citizens. Yes, they should be removed, and yes, they should be arrested, because this is, and by the way, every one of the donors, since this was a plan, they raised money beforehand to cover the $500 a day fine that they knew they would be charged. So anyone who donated to them for this excursion, this running away, this avoidance of their duties, well, you bribed a bunch of politicians,
public officials,
stop them from doing their duty. That is a crime. The donor should be arrested. These individuals, these Texas Democrats, should be arrested. They should be tried, and they should lose their office. Absolutely.
Michael, do you think, and you still talked the last couple of days, can the FBI get involved as far as apprehensions?
They are talking about starting that because they cross state lines. It may allow the federal government to step in, because since they left the state of Texas and went to Illinois, New York, and California, they may be able to get involved.
I go on different sites like you do, leftist and Democrat sites. Michael, they are bragging about it. Even a couple hours ago, I was on a Democrat national committee. It was some of those sites. They were bragging, "Oh, we are so proud. Courage is contagious." They're so proud. Is it because, Michael, the Democrats are so much in this sewer as far as approval ratings, that even things like this, where they're breaking the law, the Democrats say, "Hey, this is great. We're behind you," even though they're, like you said, they're damaging their own citizens in the state of Texas.
Because they're in an echo chamber and they're focused on the party and their individual power. They're very selfish. And so they're only looking at this from their selfish desire to maintain power and make it easy to keep power or maybe even possibly grow their power. That's what they're obsessed with. They're not paying attention. And the mainstream media is helping them. There is no list of the 50. In 2021, when they first tried this stupid idea of run away, instead of doing your job, run away, there was no list of the names then. There's no list of the names of all 50. Some think it's up as many as 67 of the Texas Democrats that ran away from their job. There's no list. We should have that list. We should know and hold them accountable. No news media will provide that list. So that's a problem right there. They're being protected. They're being hidden so that when they do return to Texas, because eventually they will, they're going to be protected. And you can't say, you were the one. I do know two of them, Lulu Flores, Yolanda Jones. I can tell you for a fact they're both state representatives of Texas. And I know for a fact I've seen them speaking, one with Hochul, one with Don Lemon. They're on the record. They've run to New York. They directly have. But there's another 48 or 65, it's unclear which, that should be held accountable as well. Every single one of them, arrest them. They're criminals. They're trash.
Michael, if they can't find them or arrest them, can this thing literally go on indefinitely?
Theoretically, yes, but no. This is like what happened again, going back to 2021. We saw the same kind of issue. Eventually, some of those Democrats, what needs to happen and how you break this is you get the names. If we get the list of names, some of the names started coming out in 2021. As those names were coming out, those Democrats ran back to Texas because now they were accountable. Right. And in this case, so if I can name people like Yolanda Jones, like Lulu Flores, okay, their constituents know that for every flood victim out there, for every child that is suffering right now, cannot eat, doesn't have a place to stay, they don't have a business, all those people who are suffering in Texas, they can target Yolanda Jones and Lulu Flores because that's why they're in suffering right now. And as we get more of those names, well, the Democrats are going to lose more of those elections. They're going to run back to
Michael.
Texas.
To the best of your knowledge, has it got to the arrest warrant phase?
Yes, they've already issued a warrant yesterday. Governor Abbott requested that there would be warrants for their arrest. It was issued yesterday, as I recall.
Okay. Are they misdemeanors or felonies? Is this a misdemeanor or a felony?
This is a misdemeanor.
Okay, but you can still be arrested for it. You
can be arrested for it, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how this is going to pan out. I know a lot of people were asking about it, Michael. I know you're well versed on that. It's typical Democrats.
It's evil. It's evil. That's what it is. It's evil.
Yeah.
And the media will not tell the public what we've just discussed. You can't find. It is factual. It is a fact. It is confirmable. And not one of the mainstream news media will say this on air. They will not tell the public what I've just said with you, which is 100% confirmable. Everything I've said.
Right. Gavin Newsom went in front of the podium again yesterday and said, well, we're just going to have to fight fire with fire. What exactly did he mean by that, Michael?
It means he's going to continue to gerrymander. It's not like California's never gerrymandered their district before. They have, and they're going to do more of it. This is the excuse for them to do more gerrymandering because they're losing their grip. Why? Because people are leaving California. Again, second to New York State, but people are leaving. And they need some way to gin up and protect their districts. They have to get something to motivate their supporters. And they have nothing. They have nothing. There's no leadership. There's no plan. Everything they've done has failed continuously. And the people go, but Mike, how can you say they failed? Do you know what the debt of New York State is? The debt of California? Their debt is bigger than the GDP of a third of the countries on the planet. That's failure.
No,
that's a failure.
It is such a strange thing, but it is so important for us. And Michael, if I can back up, because you talked about the census about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
If we can get a new census and exclude all the illegals, are we talking about gaining like 25 or 30 seats?
30 to 40.
Now,
Depends on who's counting and how many you're counting. I've seen some estimates saying it's 20. I've seen the main number, the consistent middle ground, is about 30 seats. Could be as high as 40, could be as low as 20. I think that's unrealistic. I think the real number is somewhere between 30 and 40. But yes, because again, in New York State alone, we're looking at New York State should have lost 3 members of Congress in 2020. We lost 1. That was, and just barely lost 1 at that because of counting all the illegal aliens. Then we got this massive infusion of 8 million illegal aliens. That makes up for, 8 million. If New York State got, as a number, 1.2 million of those illegal aliens came into New York State, well, that makes up for 4 years. That's 4 years that you've now covered of mass exodus of American citizens leaving.
well, Michael, when you give illegals like Gavin did, driver's license and medical insurance, did they do that in New York State? Did the illegals get driver's license or no?
Yes,
they did. Well, okay, that's a step easier to registering to vote. I would think. But let me ask you a question along, and this
like
is
in Oregon, where we know for a fact Oregon State did say 300, at least 300 illegal aliens got a driver's license and also were registered automatically to vote. And there was supposed to be a further investigation. They stopped talking about it. So
I know it's
happening
a big
across
problem.
the country.
Now, I want to ask you a question about mass deportations and self-deportations. I know there's been a lot of talk about, plus and minus about whether it's moving forward or it's kind of stalled. Now, I was looking at some of the economic numbers. Michael, I'm not a business guy, but I was deriving from some of the numbers, employment numbers and whatnot, and that one of the stats was that there was minus 1.5 million illegals in this particular job count I was looking at. Is it possible, Michael, that self-deportations are happening at a much larger rate than we are led to believe if all these people are out of the workforce?
Well, it's hard to tell because no one will give us hard numbers about anything when it comes to illegal aliens. But yes, they are leaving, which is good. That's the whole point of the alligator Alcatraz, the Bobcat box. There's at least 5 states that are looking to also create a alligator Alcatraz style holding facility for illegal aliens so they can be further deported. We believe that Kentucky, which would be the Bobcat box, and Alaska, which would be the Kodiak cage, would be 2 of the 5 that will be coming up. But there's a reason why I mentioned that. That's the natural predators in those areas. But anyway, going on.
No, Michael, stop there real quick.
Yeah.
Because I want you to, if you could expand on that, because it's very important. When you're talking about this alligator, Alcatraz, things like that, most people think it's just, you're run-of-the-mill illegal coming in. If I can gather what you just said, Michael, the people that are going to these Alcatraz alligator places or whatever are hardened illegal criminals. Is that a good characterization or not?
Not quite. There's a mix of obviously the priorities of many of the states, and this is state level, not federal level. State level acquisition of these illegal aliens has been focused primarily on the most violent of the illegal aliens. So, and that would be gangs and just crazy violent individuals. That's at the state level. So you are seeing many of these people being detained at places like in Florida, there's an alligator Alcatraz. 5 other states have suggested that they would want to open similar types of locations for their aggressive criminals as well, the aggressive illegal aliens. Let me be clear, because there are no citizens that are being detained in these things. Everyone keeps saying they're getting an American citizen, they're deporting them.
Yeah,
detaining American citizens is legal, and that isn't a problem. No American citizen has been deported. That's just not true. It'd be across every newspaper in America if they had. They have not. So it's not true. That's a misinformation running rampant on social media. That's just a pipe dream of the left. So if they do this, and you could see that each of these states, like in Kentucky, which have a lot of bobcats, they could put it in the woods surrounding a lot of bobcats. That helps restrict people trying to escape. If you do it in Alaska, well, there's Kodiak bears out there. You can do it in the mountains out there. It's cold. It's got a lot of bears. It restricts the number of escapes that would be attempted.
Right.
And it's also unpleasant, which helps to discourage people. And if the illegal alien is looking at, well, I will be deported to Sudan, or I will be deported to El Salvador because I don't care where you go. Deport them to Antarctica for all I care. It doesn't matter. Not our people, not
Michael,
our responsibility.
That's at the discretion of the U.S. government that we can deport these illegals not back to their home country anywhere in the world, like Sudan, like you're saying. That's at our discretion where we deport them.
That's already gone through the Supreme Court. And yes, any country that makes an agreement with the United States that we accept, if their home country has denied that individual or does not have an agreement with the United States for repatriating their individuals or any specific individual, well, they're not our problem. And if some other country says, we'll take them, goodbye. And again, if someone has a camp over in Antarctica, I'm more than happy, ship them to Antarctica. Why? Not our people, not our problem. Get out my country.
I want to ask you a quick question, Michael, about criminal illegal gangs operating here in the United States. Do you think they are organized, A, and B, how much do you think the cartels are influencing, financing, and quarterbacking these operations in American cities?
Well, we know for a fact that they are having a massive impact on finances. We know that they are very well organized, so much so that in Cudahy, California, the vice mayor of Cudahy, California, actually enlisted or sought to enlist. She requested the fighting power of the 18th Street Gang and the Florencia 13 cartel to fight against the United States federal ICE officials because she supported open borders. She tried to, and we have this, it's on record, it's a fact. She was actually trying to entice cartels, foreign cartels on U.S. soil to attack U.S. federal agents who were lawfully, and people keep forgetting this, everything ICE is doing, everything that's happening in these states, this is lawful. No one has created a new power. This isn't some new law they just came up with. These are the laws as they exist, created by Democrats, voted for by Democrats. And so they're trying to enforce the law, and she didn't like it, so she tried to get the gangs, which tells me in her city, in California, as one example, we know that the gangs have enough power that she didn't go to the people, she didn't go to the unions, she didn't go to the police and say, hey, maybe you want to rethink this. No, she went to the criminal gangs. Well, that means the gang has power over that city. She's not really the vice mayor. She's just an administrator for the cartels, for the Florencia 13 cartel. And we see this across the country.
No,
this
good.
is not unusual.
Well said there, Michael. I'm glad you laid that all out there. Now, this next question of discussion with you is along these lines. I believe maybe last year you and I broached this topic, but this was just breaking this afternoon. And maybe it's old news, but I thought it was new. Trump signs Pentagon directive to begin using military force against Latin American drug cartels. And my questions to you, Michael, does this mean that we'll be occupying certain areas to address the cartel's influence? Will the Democrats start yelling about due process there if we end up arresting them? What do you envision when a directive like this is signed? And Michael, I think it's pretty big, man, when the president gives a directive to use military force against Latin American drug cartels. Now, Is this a long time coming, or what's your thoughts on that?
I thought we were going to talk about the other breaking news first, but okay. In terms of dealing with military going after the Latin American gangs, by the way, Why Latin America? And we have over 100 different gangs that are entering into the United States from foreign countries. So we got people from gangs from Angola, the triads from over in Southeast Asia, the Russian mafia. We have a lot of them. But in particular, in the largest number, because of the ease of access, are those from South America and Central America and Mexico. So that's why it's not because they're brown-skinned people. Stop saying this lie, you idiots. It's because they have the easiest access. They can walk 1,000 miles or 100 miles into America easier than coming from Angola or from the Southeast Asian triads into America. It's just easier. That's why you have more of them. This has been suggested to some extent back and forth in the past. Ollie North got in trouble for this kind of thing back under the Reagan administration. It wasn't done in the best way back then because we were supporting certain governments and certain organizations.
The
Sandinistas, yeah. So it wasn't the best way. But again, that was military force being used, and it did have some impact. What do I envision? I can tell you what the Democrats, what the left envision. They imagine that the United States is going to be flying. It's going to be like that scene from Apocalypse Now, where we're blasting Battle Cry of the Valkyrie, flying our Blackhawks in and just blowing up Mexico City. Sorry, that's not going to happen. That's not realistic. That's not happening. But will we see engagement with foreign governments and our troops supporting them actively to try and take them out? And could there possibly be some black ops forces that take out certain critical cartel leadership? Suddenly they have certain accidents, they get assassinated mysteriously. Would that happen? Possibly. And would that be a good thing? Yes. Put the fear of God into
Michael, you're talking about Sicario 1 and Sicario 2 movies. That's what it sounds like you're talking about. That's what they did in the movies.
We're talking about the reality of the world. This is the real world.
But you're saying, and Michael, I didn't think about that. You're thinking we're not just going to go in unilaterally. You're saying likely, very likely, we would be working with the host government to conduct these operations.
Yeah, we would. They would definitely know about the operations to some extent. They would know about some of our targets to some extent. And remember, most of these countries are absolutely corrupt. They're not in charge. The president of Mexico is not in charge of Mexico. The cartels are in charge of Mexico. Let's be honest. And the same thing you can say about most of South America and Central America. It's the cartels that are in charge, not the government. Very few governments actually have control of anything. So, yeah, we'll tell them certain things, absolutely, to coordinate with them. More likely to say, get out of our way. And then if we were to drop in, I know we don't use napalm, but for example, if we napalm a couple of poppy fields, hey, I'm not against that. If we happen to have, if there's a black ops, then suddenly the head of the MS-13 cartel drops dead because he got shot in the head with a 50 cal from a mile away. I'm not sad. I'm not going to cry. Okay. These are sex slavers. These are drug dealers. These are gun runners. These are people who are in our cities and they are harming American citizens directly and indirectly. I'm not crying about that. The left,
Michael, I remember you just triggered in my brain the question along these lines I asked you last year about wow, what are we going to do there? And you said something to the fact, Matthew J, they've already done damage. Are you looking like 100,000 fentanyl deaths? They've already drawn first blood.
Exactly.
Of course we have to move against it.
Yeah. That's why I'm not worried about it. So go ahead. And so Trump has finally done what he has the balls to do, what Biden and Obama and Clinton would not do, which is actually take action. And much like with the impact isn't so, we don't even have to do a whole lot. We just have to do some. And the fear of us doing more, just like with deporting illegal aliens, you don't want to go to Alligator Alcatraz. Leave. Just get out of my country. I don't care where you go. Go anywhere else in the world. You want to go to Europe? Fantastic. Go to France. France loves illegal aliens. Go to France. Have a great time. Go over by the Eiffel Tower. I've been there. It's not that impressive. Go there. Have a great time. Get a baguette. Get out my country. And they are. Same thing. Take out one cartel leader. Take out the leader of MS-13. Burn down a couple of poppy fields. One time. And do it by surprise all at once. Hey, by the way, Mexico, do it just like we did with Iran. Hey, by the way, we're flying over your airspace right now. We're about to drop a couple of firebombs on a poppy field held by the MS-13 gang. Thank you very much. We love your support. Talk to you tomorrow. That's what we should do. And the fear of God, and more importantly, the fear of God and America standing up will slow down. It will not stop. I'm not foolish. It's not going to stop drugs. It's not going to stop the sex slaving. It's not going to be the end of the child slavery like we saw in California, where kids are picking marijuana at a commercial farm in California. No different than black slaves picking cotton. It's the same thing. So yeah, put the fear of God into these people, and that's going to slow down. And I have no problem with that.
No, I got you. Michael, this is the question I asked you. You're going to blast my ear over it. You don't seem to be too concerned about blowback here, where the cartels are going to ramp up their pals here to make mischief in the United States. They're already doing that, right?
Why do I care about cartels, how they feel? I don't care about the feelings of the cartels. I don't care about the feelings of Hamas. I don't care about terrorists.
No, I'm talking about if they start doing some destructive things in our cities. I think you know what I'm talking about.
Are they? They're not that stupid. They're not that stupid. They're smart. They're businessmen. They're evil and vile. They're disgusting. They believe in slavery and they trade in slavery on a regular basis and they sell poison to our children. But they're not stupid. That's how they got to build these organizations in the first place. And they're smart enough to know the best thing they can do is slow down operations, take a little bit less of a profit, and lay low until the next president comes in. And hopefully it's another Democrat, kind of like an Obama or a Kamala Harris or a Clinton or Biden. And then they can get back to doing business as usual and make more profit, or they can get blown out of the sky. They can be blown off the face of the earth. You know what? They're not stupid. They'll slow down.
I got you. That's well said. Now, Michael, I want to ask you about an X post you had on your site. I don't know how long ago it was, but when I first saw it a couple of days ago, not just your X post, but the thing you were referring to, and I'm referring to, you had an X post saying Jim Acosta was using an AI image of a dead young man for political purposes. And I know it pissed you off and it pissed me off. Could you tell the audience exactly what you think Jim Acosta was trying to accomplish?
Jim Acosta is a vile pig. Okay. And I say that professionally because of what he did. Not about him personally. I don't know Jim Acosta and I don't want to know Jim Acosta. And I don't care about, I know his politics. I don't care about his politics. It's what he did that I think is so vile and disgusting, and it is unethical. Jim Acosta had an interview. Fine. He had an interview that was very political. I don't care. We all do that. That's fine. He was interviewing an AI.
Right.
And in particular, an AI of a dead teenager. That is sick and twisted. He was asking an AI avatar of basically ChatGPT with the face of one of the kids who died down from the Florida mass shooting. The starts with a P. God, I'm thinking plantation. It's not plantation. It's the other one. The mass shooting down in Florida.
No, I remember.
And he's using the face of that kid, that teenager, and ask him, do you think gun control is a good thing? And ChatGPT says whatever, and ChatGPT doesn't actually think. It just says, well, here's all the articles about gun control. I'll say whatever that is. And the most of them are written by the left. So it says gun control is fantastic. Gun control doesn't work. It has never worked. If it did work, we wouldn't be talking about mass shootings right now. We wouldn't have the mass shooting in New York last week. It wouldn't exist because gun control doesn't work, because crazy people and the criminally insane and criminals don't care. They don't follow the law. That's why they're criminals. Duh. But so he used ChatGPT with the face of this dead kid to pull on the heartstrings, the emotions of Americans across all these Americans, and he's manipulating people. That is emotional manipulation, plain and simple and direct. It's not informative. It's not a direct interview. It's not actually talking to a victim, a survivor. You're not getting anything other than political propaganda. And it is the worst form of political propaganda you could possibly do. He's standing, literally, he was on the back of a dead child, proselytizing his political ideology to the airwaves. That is evil, that is vile, that is sick, it is unethical. He should be removed from the airwaves for that, because it is twisted. I believe in freedom of speech. This is abuse.
Michael, how do you even think up shit like that? How would you just say, let me see what I can do?
Well, how did Acosta think that up? I didn't think it up.
No. I'm just like, I'm thinking Acosta. Where's his, like, is this guy like a practicing Satanist? Who would think up something that diabolical? And I agree with you. This is the sickest shit I've ever seen, man. Doing that. I've never seen that before.
No one's seen it before. No one's ever done, because it's so low. And I'm talking about even the clickbait eyeball kind of deep fake sites that exist out there. Even they didn't think to this level. And Jim Acosta did it because no one pays attention. I had many people say, I didn't even know Jim Acosta was still in the news business. He's not. He's not a journalist anymore. Now he's a political commentator like you and I, except he's sinking to the bottom of, he is at the level of scum doing this. And he said, I need something that's going to get attention, something that's going to push my political ideology, make people remember him. Well, guess what, Jim? I now remember that you exist, that you have a channel out there that no one's watching. And I now remember why you got fired from CNN and why we considered you to be bad at your job. You are scum of the earth, in my opinion, based on him doing this. And you did not help your argument against the Second Amendment or for gun control. You did not advance that. So he has failed in every aspect of whatever he was hoping to get: eyeballs, attention, and a return to the lofty heights that he had in the past. He achieved none of that. He has failed, and he deserved to fail, and he should be pointed out as the vile, disgusting pig he is.
Michael, was anybody on the left even irritated what he did?
They're defending
or the left just shrugged their shoulders and think it was a good thing to do? Or, do you know what I mean? Was he ostracized by both left and right?
I can say that I saw several people talking about it across different platforms, and the left were saying it wasn't the best choice, and I understand, they understood what he was trying to do, and it's an important message that needs to get. No, it's disgusting. It's evil. It is emotional manipulation, plain and simple. Emotional manipulation wrapped around pure partisan propaganda. That is all that it was. And it needs to be called out for that. But they can't call him out for that because, one, he's a progressive leftist. Two, he's a former journalist that they lauded because they love him. And three, it's the issue. They love gun control. They think mostly because that gives them power over the public. And so they love that issue. So they can't attack it. So they've got to try and distance. And that's why you're not hearing a lot about this in the mainstream news media. You should, but they won't. Again, they have.
No, I agree, Michael. No, fair play to you. You posted it, and I made sure we were going to cover it tonight. I have a lot more things I want to discuss with you.
Sure.
Now, the next thing I want to bring up to you, Michael, I know you might say, Matthew J, come on, man, we're going to beat this subject to death. I don't think we are, because I think this is important. And I wanted to say that before I go into what I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
The CDC is warning that that there's a COVID era quarantines and restrictions in China now with this mosquito-borne virus. Now they're saying they have 10,000 cases in China. However, just recently added that now it has spread to Taiwan. And they're kind of concerned with it. Now, Michael, I know. Let me lay a little foundation before you before you comment on this. The CDC, first of all, the CDC, of course, I don't. It's hard to trust them with anything. And I think they might be trying to build up another fear thing. What my bigger concern, though, Michael, is I know it's a mosquito-borne thing. It maybe not like COVID, respiratory. Or may have some degree of respiratory. My concern, Michael, is I know you're going to say it's impossible. I'm not a doctor or scientist, but you remember COVID. You remember gain of function, tweaking things. What I'm getting at, Michael, is there's a lot of bad actors there. Right now, it's like in the distance. Oh, okay, they got this mosquito-borne illness in China. Now it's spread to Taiwan. So what? It's not going to be any big deal here. My concern is, again, there are bad actors out there, and we saw what happened in our great country here over the last couple of years with COVID restrictions and the attack on civil liberties. My question to Michael Voss is, if this, and I don't want it to, became a bigger issue, have we as a people here in America learned our lesson from all the bullshit restrictions and what they did, the Faucis and the Dr. Birches did to our society over a period of years? Have we learned our lesson?
Okay. One, it does concern me because, like malaria, which is something that's easily distributed by mosquitoes, and once one person is infected, it could always mutate from being by mosquito bite transmission into some other form of transmission.
Yeah.
Because all these things always mutate. So it's easily, if it's going through Southeast Asia, because if it went from China to Thailand, that means it's in Laos, it means it's in Cambodia, possibly in at least North Korea, if not all the Koreas, and possibly into Japan. That's a lot of area, a lot of potential mutation points, and a lot of access points into the United States. And also Australia, that would probably, and India. So we're looking at a very, very real potential that it could grow in a significant way. That's kind of like how we saw what happened in 2020. So yes, we should be paying attention to it. Yes, potentially it could be of interest. Do I think it would be as dangerous? Probably not. Again, malaria exists and still exists around the world. There's still people getting the COVID, still happening, didn't go away. The flu still exists. So, I mean, these things don't end. They'll always be here. Question is, how big does it grow? How bad is it? And we don't know for sure yet, so we can't be sure. Again, I'm not a doctor, but that's the trend that we tend to see based on medical history. But if it were to get bad, if it were to expand through Southeast Asia, if it has strong symptoms and complications, especially for those who are elderly, those with comorbidities,
right?
Yeah, America would do exactly the same thing we did last time.
You're saying we would acknowledge all the restrictions on us, and we have not learned anything.
No, nothing.
That's not a good
thing.
How
many people are walking around right now? Go to any city in America, and you'd be amazed at any time of day how many people are running around and they have masks on right now. And we know for a fact, it is a fact. It is not a question. When I first brought it up, it was an opinion. It has been confirmed by UCLA, the WHO, and the CDC. Masks don't protect anyone.
Yes.
So, and how many people are running around with masks right now? I mean, unless you personally have a deficiency, some kind of medical issue where you're capable of being harmed more easily than the average person, yes, that person needs a mask. It'll have minor impact in protecting them. Everyone else, it is useless. That's
No,
from doctors.
I agree with you, Michael. It's just that, and I'm going to be tying a couple of things in here. Back in 2018, 2019, I was thinking to myself, the Democrats have nothing to offer us. They're certainly not going to win in 2020. And then lo and behold, this biological weapon, I know you don't have to agree with it or not, was released. I think more than just Wuhan, but anyway, was released, and subsequently had the mail-in ballots and whatnot. And then we had, of course, the Democrats coming to power with the dementia patient Joe Biden getting the most votes in American political history, which of course I don't subscribe to either. So it's not a stretch, Michael, to think the Democrats, and we know the Democrats could be in bed with the globalists, the deep state, everyone. Okay, we seen the skullduggery that they're doing. If they think they don't have a chance in hell in 2028, those same forces could come again. And I'm not saying that this mosquito-borne virus is their ticket, Michael. I'm more concerned with some type of a bioweapon getting released in 27, 28 that could affect our elections again. And you may say, well, that's crazy talk, Matthew. It's been done. And as far as the globalists are concerned, I'm pretty sure they think they had a success there. Okay.
Yeah, but
and why wouldn't they use the blueprint again?
Well, it's not really about a bioweapon. It's about fear. The mainstream media has been using fear for well over a decade now, specifically fear.
Yes.
On key issues like gun control, like healthcare, like obeying authoritative sources without question. Science is the eternal quest of questions. And we've been told, no, you don't question science. No, That's how science works. That's pretty much the definition of science, is always asking another question. And we're told, no, you can't do that. And then we were punished when we did that. It's the First Amendment. I have the right to question my government on anything and everything.
Yes.
Because I want to. Whether I'm right or wrong, whether it's in left field or not, I'm an American citizen. I can ask any question I want of any elected official in America. And they said, no, you can't. Well, wait a minute. You can't stop me. Oh, they wanted to. That exists. And I'm more concerned about what we're seeing, what's coming up with the AI age verification weapon that is being created. I refer to it as a weapon by YouTube and Google, and how that's going to be abused as it's being abused in the United Kingdom right now, and how they're trying to silence people. Because we're seeing that they're trying to silence people like you and me so that they can emphasize the mainstream media, and the mainstream media has an agenda. We know this. It's been admitted many times. And I'm not so much upset that they have an agenda. I am upset that they won't admit that they have an agenda, that their bias is they have as much of a bias, if not more of a bias than I do. They've got 10,000 employees. I'm one man. And if I'm telling, I'm a conservative Republican. You know that up front. Take that with a pinch of salt. They got 10,000 people marketing to you to install fear and
Michael,
obedience.
If I get back on your AI age verification, if you can clarify this, okay? I thought the AI verification for like 14 or 16-year-olds was primarily focused at them not getting access to pornography. But you're saying ultimately that's working its way into censorship.
That's not what it is. As always, this is to help you. They're going to help you. They're going to protect you. How can you question it? You wouldn't question that. You hate children, don't you? I mean, this is the way they always phrase it. Because fear, obedience. You can't question this. Yes, I can question it. Because what it actually says is that a AI will go through all of the accounts on YouTube, and the AI will make a decision based on random on criteria that we don't know clearly what that criteria. We know some of the subjects, but we don't know the criteria or the weighting. It's going to make a decision and say, you, Matthew J, are now 16. What?
Okay.
I, at 57, could be potentially 14. according to the AI. And if the AI says so, the only way I can combat that, the only way I can correct that, because instantly all of all the news, or excuse me, all of the things that I watch on YouTube are restricted, age restricted. It's going to tell me, YouTube's now going to tell me when I should go to bed, or how much I can watch YouTube, and how I can use it, and what it's going to recommend to me. It's suddenly going to micromanage.
Michael, are you essentially saying, even for our show tonight, you and I discussing, this could be age restricted?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it will be age restricted by the audience. The audience will be prevented. They will say, you are now 15. So you can't see this. You can't see this content anymore. And the only way that individuals will be able to correct that is they have to go, they then have to go to Google and give Google either your state federal ID or your credit card. And this is the one I get. Credit card. Why am I going to give you my credit card, which is not verification of an age? It's not a verification of an identity. It is just my credit. It has nothing to do with who I am. It doesn't prove anything. But they want, and that's where the giveaway is. That's where the truth is. They'll take state ID, federal ID, and or your credit card, because this is about gathering data that they're going to resell to every one of their businesses that are advertising to them. They're going to sell your information. They're going to put a database and say, hey, I've got every single video that Matthew J has ever subscribed to, everything he's ever watched. I know now you know his pattern, you know his history, you know a lot about him because it's been curated over all the years that Matthew J has been on YouTube, and I have his credit. And I guarantee you, if you got a decent enough hacker or you have a big enough business, you can go back and you can generally get a feel for the purchasing power. Gee, how much money is running through that credit card any given month? What kinds of things would someone who has this kind of credit rating and this kind of age that watches these kind of programs, what do they tend to buy? What do they tend to spend money on? Let me target that person with this information. They can work out with a high degree of accuracy what you're spending your money on, how to market to you, how to abuse you, all in the name of, but I'm going to protect children. There's no porn. YouTube is not Pornhub. They're not the same thing.
Right.
This isn't OF.
I got you.
So no, this has never been about protecting kids. This has always been about silencing voices that, by the way, if you're predominantly, whether you're underage or not, they're not going to stop you from seeing ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, MSNBC. They're going to let you see those approved. You'll still be able to see The View every day of the week. You'll be able to see Don Lemon every day of the week, but they won't be able to see Matthew J. They won't be able to see No Soundbites Allowed. They won't be able to see certain unapproved sources, but you'll definitely be able to see all the approved sources that match what they want, and they're going to sell your financial data to their all their advertisers.
No, I know, Michael, this is the privacy issues are very scary, what you're laying out there. But let me ask you a question. I don't even know if this enters the discussion. What if you have like a proxy, you're using a proxy server, like an anonymizer or something like that, that costs $19 a month or whatever. Is that a way of circumventing it, or that doesn't even come into play here?
Well, one, the AI would know, will be able to identify if you're
and it just won't let you proceed.
A VPN or something. They may not let you in. They just may block you altogether, or it may just automatically go, oh yeah, that VPN, by the way, it's a VPN. So you're automatically underage.
So in order to have age verification, and I know, like you said, Matthew, they use the fear card, protect the children or protect the young adults from pornography. Essentially, it needs a way to confirm that, or try to confirm it. And you're saying AI will take all information. I mean, Michael, when you think about it, not just what you're saying, credit card scores and what videos you took out years ago back in the day, library books. we don't know the capacity of AI and exactly what it is sweeping up. What information is it sweeping up? Is it sweeping up, well, Facebook, your neighbor contacts, private conversations, your WhatsApp? I know the Irish government now wants to have access to your WhatsApp. When you're going to this, calling back and forth. In fact, I just got done a call in Ireland before we came on the show. But the Irish police want to have access to that, because if you're making any waves about the invasion of Ireland with all the illegals coming in, the police want to talk to you. So yeah,
the UK police want to arrest me for being able to say things in America that I'm perfectly allowed to say about their government. Yeah, remember that? I didn't forget.
We're getting into that area. You saw JD Vance and others talking about it, saying, what's happening over in Europe, particularly Germany, England, and Ireland, and other Western European nations, is that when the globalists Brussels feels they're losing the narrative, obviously they're going to go to the censorship tools. That's their bread and butter. If we can deny the truth or suppress the truth, in order to get our lying message out, that's where we're going to go. But the problem is, Michael, and maybe you just addressed this too, is that are we going to be our Americans' message or our reach going to be suppressed in Europe because of EU regulations with the Digital Services Act? Are we going to be regulated? Or, and I know I didn't ask you this yet, if I'm going over to the UK and all of a sudden, Matthew J., the things you said last month, well, we're going to have to arrest you for that. And that meme you put on Facebook, you're going to do 6 months for that. Can crazy shit like that be in the future?
I wouldn't say the future. I would say now. Yes. And no, they're not just going to block us in Europe. I'm talking about in America. Everything I just said about YouTube and the AI age verification, that's it for Americans. That's for American citizens with the First Amendment. Now, I understand YouTube, Google, they're a private business. Fantastic. They have the right to do that. I'm not saying they don't have the right to do that. I'm saying what they're doing, though, is abusive, and they're not being clear about the consequences of it, or the far reach of it, or the very loose nature in how they're going to target individuals. And that is abusive, because I somehow I have this impression, and I'm sure if they were actually give us the numbers, we'd find out in a heartbeat that they're going to be overweighting whether you're conservative or progressive, a conservative or Republican, if you watch a lot of unapproved sources that they don't like. So there's that. So that's one. Two, yes, England has already started to do this. And yes, England has already said 6 months ago, they said they want to arrest Americans for things that we're saying in America about the British government. Keir Starmer sucks. He sucks. He can suck my balls. He is a horrible Prime Minister of England. I dare you to arrest me. Come to the Bronx.
Yeah.
Try and arrest me. Come on. I'm an American citizen. I can do that. But would they try and arrest you for that? They might. They might.
Oh, no, listen, I take this very, very seriously. And as you know, I go back to Ireland every year. I'm an Irish citizen, an American citizen. I'm a dual citizen. And I think about this stuff all the time because I am in contact with some of the biggest influencers. We both follow each other. And I don't even want to say now because it's private emails. He tells me the harassment that he's had just for bringing up how the government's capitulating to Brussels, and they have built over 300 migrant centers just in Ireland alone, which is overwhelming a very small population to begin with.
Yeah.
But if you bring that up, you're going to get on the Irish police radar. They've got special units, just like, as you know, and the UK and London, they've
already been abused.
Yes,
this is part of the reason why it's already being abused, and this is part of the reason why I'm saying it's going to be abused here in the United States. Within 12 hours of this AI, the same kind of AI verification system for protecting the kids, and they were already shutting down adults. They were already attacking people and their individual voices. Now, England doesn't have a First Amendment. They don't have the rights and privileges that we have here in America. But we're doing the same thing here. I have a
Michael, I agree with you there. And that's, I'll make the point again, when we get done this show, we're live on X and YouTube and Rumble, but there's going to be all kinds of little things underneath, our little discussion tonight.
Probably.
Yeah, no, likely. We haven't talked about Go Green or anything like that yet, and that was a big thing on it. It's disturbing, and when you think about this, Michael, I know we're practically in the same kind of gap here, age group. That would you think
I'm actually
15,
older,
20
believe
years
it or
ago?
not.
Huh?
I'm actually
15
older, but whatever.
I'm old. I know how old you are. I'm older than you.
You are?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
by a few years.
Oh, okay.
Michael, it's fine. You don't have to say it. I know I look good. Um, the 15, 20 years ago, Michael, you and I would not be sitting across, having a drink or beer and saying anything about free speech. Free speech it's really going to be on the ropes there for a while. Everything, censorship's going to be, I would never think in 2025, we're talking about you can be deplatformed. And just to mention to you, I know I mentioned you before, I was mentioning the CDC 4 years ago. I think I mentioned it before. I made one statement. Do you trust the CDC? I was deplatformed within 2 seconds. Boom, I was gone. That's how quickly it was. That's when, it was, Biden, FBI, Twitter servers, they seemed like they were acting as one, Michael. I
Well,
never
they were
thought.
coordinating. We do know that for a fact. We know that the White House was having direct conversations with social media corporations. We know that for a fact. It has been verified now. It was denied then. We know it now. It has been verified by the mainstream news media, the left-leaning news media, that they were having these conversations. There was coordination. And yes, people were targeted. There were hit lists or target lists that were being supplied to Facebook, to YouTube, even to Twitter. Wasn't always followed, but they did exist. So yeah, you probably were targeted.
Yeah, it's I never thought we'd get to that point. And I know you stressed the point, Matt. You say, Matthew, I'm talking about America. I'm not talking about the UK. UK's bad. I know you know that too, but it's here in America. And it's shocking because people think, oh my God, YouTube and Facebook, these are great American companies. Of course they embrace the Constitution and freedom of speech. Nothing could be further from the truth, man. They're globalists. They're corporate. They don't have our best interest.
They're just like CNN and MSNBC. They have a political agenda. They have an outcome. They have a goal that they want to get. You've already heard the owners of all of the major social media, except for Elon for the most part, have come out and said, no, they hate Donald Trump. They hate MAGA. They don't like Republicans and conservatives. And we have a history of them every year, going back to about 2016, going to the floor of Congress and telling them about every single year, there's an algorithm issue. Oops, we have a coding issue, and X number of Republicans and conservatives, even members, elected officials who happen to be Republican or conservative, have somehow been suppressed to some amount or another. You can go back to 2017 in congressional hearings, and this has been admitted to year after year after year. Yeah.
Michael, let me ask you something. Jim Jordan having all these congressional hearings over the years brings Google and Facebook. Oh, you guys got to stop censoring. You got to stop doing this. But nothing really happens. Is this because Silicon Valley, they own they own both houses where, there'll be a lot of congressional hearings on censorship, but nothing will ever be accomplished. And particularly they go after Jim Jordan for that, who talks a lot, but doesn't say much.
Well, the problem is we have not changed Section 230. So YouTube is a platform. And now there's actually a recent ruling based on the deepfake AI, which remember Gavin Newsom, California, said you can't run a deepfake of Gavin Newsom saying that he's gay, as an example. I'm just putting that out. I'm not saying he is, using it as an example. And you can have a deepfake of that. Well, yes, you can. That's a parody of a public figure, and in particular, a politician. You can. And there was a ruling in courts that said, yes, you can do a deep fake of Gavin Newsom saying that. You can do that. That is legal, and the state can't stop you. Because, and here's the kicker, because Section 230, the very same thing that these companies have been standing behind to try and oppress us, is the same thing that can be used to protect us. Since they're a platform, YouTube doesn't have the right to pull that deep fake because, and they can't be sued for it, but they also can't be compelled to pull it. Why? They're a platform, they're a service. They provide a platform for me to put the content on, and
Right.
they have no editorial about it, so they can't take it up. Well, now, if let's use, and this is why I'm happy, let's use the weapons against them. If they're a platform, fantastic. Then you don't get the right to arbitrarily say that I'm whatever age you want to say and restrict me. You don't get that right. You're a platform. You don't get to prevent me from being able to see what I want to see.
The age restriction,
because that would be editorial. So no, sorry, you don't get that right.
so this age restriction, and Michael, I'm glad you clarified it, because people think like, well, geez, that was a good thing because we're going after Pornhub and this, that, and the other thing. You're saying that's their stepping stone, that's their way in. Age verification will be used for political purposes. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, absolutely. Just like red flag laws have been used to punish people, and again, news media doesn't like to talk about it, but red flag laws don't protect anyone in any state. Since 1999, doesn't stop gun control. It doesn't stop mass shootings or school shootings. It doesn't even stop suicides. It never has, and it was never really meant to. So it's totally ineffective. But it is a great way to punish people. It's a great way to attack your political enemies. It's a great way to chill people and make them afraid that you're going to come after them next. And that's how it's been used. Same thing with this. Anyone who disagrees with me, I have tons of data about red flag laws since 2018, when I first started doing big studies on it. I've talked to the state of Connecticut and Indiana and New York. Yeah, I can prove this. I've already proven it many times. Yes, it is a weapon. It is not a protection.
No, I'm glad we got that all out there. Michael, listen, there are two more things I want to get to you. You mentioned something about breaking news. I don't know which one you wanted to get to, either the Emory shootings or you want to get to the breaking news of Trump and Putin meeting in Alaska. Which one do you want to go to?
Emory first.
Okay. The latest I got before we got on the air here was that the suspect was down, and the reports I got from three different sources that there was a police officer shot, and quite possibly killed. I was listening to a lot of the crosstalk on the scanners down there on a channel that I subscribe to. I don't know if students are in class this early. However, apparently the guy was holed up in a CVS, which is adjacent to the CDC. I saw all the bullet holes through CDC windows, but they had not done a press conference yet. And that's what I know about it so far.
Okay. So while you were speaking, I just double checked the news feed on it. I too was, just before we started, I was checking it out. So yes, it seems to be a lone gunman, but who knows?
Right.
We don't know the motivation yet, as far as we can tell. Probably there's some kind of suicide note somewhere, most likely, or a manifesto somewhere. That tends to happen. Attacking the CDC. Guy couldn't get through the gate, and so was shooting from across the street at the CDC building.
Okay.
Which is why the building has bullet holes on it. And then was confronted by police. Notice every time, what stops a mass shooter? It's a good guy with a gun.
There you go.
That's like Derek Perry in Michigan recently. It's always the only thing. They run out of bullets, they end themselves, or a good guy with a gun shows up. That's the only way these things stop every single time. Same thing here.
Michael, listen, stay there with the Emory thing, but this is what I forgot to ask you. And I just want to make this point. You can expand where you want. That thing that happened in 345 Park Avenue, the shooter parks his vehicle in front of 345. Well, my question, Michael, is the shooter could have gotten the vehicle, said, oh, you know what? I'm just going to drive down Park Avenue and just run over and kill 20, 30 people. Do you ban cars? So it's the motive and whatever else. I know people want to go after guns, but he could have just as easily killed people with his car, right?
Well, that's what happened in Waukesha, Wisconsin, during a Thanksgiving Day parade. Thanksgiving, Christmas Day parade. Dwayne Brooks ran over 60 people, killed dozens because he had a car. We've seen that in New York. We've seen it in Las Vegas.
Something like that, Michael? How would you stop something like that? You can't, right?
Well, if I'm armed, I shoot him.
I know in that case, but if you're outside of having a weapon. But yeah, I just wanted to say that because you hear things like in England with the knives and the London mayor wants to ban knives because people are being stabbed and like, come on now.
Yeah, you don't have
ban
guns,
hammers
so
too, and
it doesn't matter. There's always another weapon in England, and England is a great proof of that. Oh, they don't use guns because traditionally they don't have firearms since the 1500s. Right. But they do have knives. They've always had knives. And the problem is they have just as many. I mean, and again, going back to Michigan 2 weeks ago, we had a guy walk into a Walmart with a knife and stabbed 11 people. Okay. What stopped him? Good guy with a gun.
Yes.
That's it. So it crazy and criminal do not care about laws, and they don't care about the tool that they use.
Right.
They have a goal. They're going to get that goal. They don't care if they have to pick up a rock, a brick, a knife, or a firearm. It's whatever gets the job done, or they'll make an improvised weapon. It's because they're crazed and or criminal. So we should stop pretending like, oh my God, there's 22,000. We need 22,001 more gun control law. And now the criminals will finally pay attention to the law. Now the crazy people will get a ray of sense of sanity beamed into their mind now, and they will no longer go out there doing mass killings. Yeah, believe that, Snowflake.
I got you.
If that lets you sleep, great, but it's stupid and it's not real.
So, Michael, just to finish up on the Emory thing, it appears that they weren't going after whatever we look as it stands now. They weren't going after the Emory college students per se. It looks like it may have been more focused on the CDC.
As far as so there's the Emory campus, which is next to the CDC. He was targeting the CDC, which is on the same grounds as the Emory campus. So they're basically the same place. But he was targeting the CDC, not the students. Again, wouldn't have mattered because no one had a firearm. It's a gun-free zone. So that means it's a 100% target-rich environment.
Yes.
Everyone is a target there. Why? Because no one has a firearm, because it's a gun-free zone. You are now a victim. Everyone there was a victim, except, the gate to the CDC was closed, and that is guarded, and they were protected. That's why this guy got stopped. Maybe we should have more guns, or at least more concealed carry.
I agree with you. Listen, I got to ask you this question. Let's just say I'm in Philadelphia. I've got my permit carry, and I'm shopping downtown Philly, and there's a storefront has a sign says no firearms allowed in the store. Under the Constitution and whatnot, I can still go into that store. Is that right?
Tricky. Depends on the state. It's tricky. It's not. That isn't clear, and the Supreme Court hasn't addressed that fully at this point. Because again, the owner of that store has a right as well. So you have a right and they have a right. The rights are conflicting. Generally speaking, because it's a business and you're entering their business, so you absolve or temporarily pause your rights to go to their business, their location, and use their services. That's generally how it's seen in the courts right now. There is a counter argument to that, but that's how it's generally seen, because I'm going to them in their location. Therefore, I suspend some of my rights to get service.
Michael, if you do just walk in, basically you're just violating store policy. It's not a criminal offense, right?
Again, depends on the state. Depends. It's not clear cut. That's where concealed
What it
carry
should
comes
say,
in. And
Michael, so what it should say, if it says no firearms allowed, it should say above it, you are on your own.
well,
Right?
if it says what you should think of is if it says gun-free zone or no firearms allowed, be very aware that is a
Yes.
target for crime. That is a signal that says, bullseye, we're open for crime. We want to be robbed. If you walk into that business, be prepared to hand over your possessions to a criminal who may still kill you. Because what they've just said is we have no way to defend ourselves. We have no way to allow our customers to defend themselves. Because that's what, in truth, it is.
Well, Michael, that's a good point. I didn't think about it because a lot of the store owners I know in Philly, they're all packing. They all have guns. You know what I mean?
Same in New York. Because, you just have to. That's reality. Is it legal? Tell me after the shooting. Tell me after the criminal is trying to kill me and or other people. Then we'll talk about that. But until then, I don't care.
I got you. Michael, I want to get to this situation, which we might have to spend a few minutes on it. We're going to be jumping to a pretty big issue to a lot of people, certainly here in the United States.
Before we go there, I do want to say to the wife and children of the slain officer and the unborn child of that slain officer, my condolences, my prayers go out to each of them. I am sorry that a sick, twisted, demonic individual caused so much pain and suffering to your family. I feel for them, and I am sorry for them in this situation. But yeah,
I know, Michael, I saw the funeral, and didn't his father have a stroke or something too when he heard the news?
What, on Emory?
No, sorry. No, I'm sorry about that. I thought you were talking about the NYPD officer that was killed.
No, that's another thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's all right. I'm sorry. Because you're in New York City, I thought you were talking about that. But yes, the Emory thing is disturbing as usual.
Yeah, his wife was pregnant.
I mean,
that's kids already.
That's unbelievable, and it's yes. I want to ask you about this, which was breaking big time just before we came on.
Mm-hmm.
It is of the Vladimir Putin, President Trump meeting next Friday in Alaska. And then, of course, some smartasses were saying, and they may be true, saying the part of Alaska they're meeting in was used to be Russia. So some of the Russian media are saying, like, we're having the meeting in Russia. But I don't think it really even matters, okay? The fact that they are having the meeting. Now, the surprising things to me, Michael, is that I've been following this quite closely since February 2022, is even up till yesterday or even today, the sides, meaning the Russians, Ukrainians, and I guess you would say NATO, US, whatnot, are so far apart. And Zelensky saying, unless we get our 4 provinces back and other stipulations, we're not going to move forward with negotiations. But the way being presented now through the media and a lot of the Trump folks is that they're anticipating a significant breakthrough next Friday. Now, is that something reasonable to think that will happen after 2.5 years? Or or what, 3.5 years?
What's going to happen is what was predicted. I predicted literally day one. Russia is going to keep everything that they captured. They're going to have eastern portion of Ukraine. They're going to have a connection to the south, and part of the southern Ukraine is going to be theirs as well. They will have access to the Crimea. They will have access to the Black Sea. They will have much of the farmland. They'll have some of the fertilizer and uranium, which is what they wanted. They will get it, and then they'll stop. The war may pick up in 10 years from now because Russia wants the whole thing. And they always have. This goes back 700 years. This is not a new fight. This is a fight that's been happening for 700 years in that region between these nationalities. This is not new. They're going to fight about this again. It's not over. But at this point, the fight's over. Ukraine lost a while ago. Like 18 months ago, they were done. And this has just been more bleeding because the Ukraine keeps saying, well, we have to have absolute victory. You're the loser. You're never going to get what you're asking for. You're losing. You have to negotiate to keep as much as you can, but the advantage is completely with Putin. And the worst thing is we would be months ahead in this process if the Democrats and the Europeans didn't tell Zelensky, embarrass Trump in the White House, and he'll give you stuff like Biden did. Wrong president, wrong international policy to try and play games with, and that gave Russia, who at the time, remember, Putin voluntarily reached out to the United States to start having these talks because it was President Trump and not President Biden or President Kamala Harris. They were willing to move forward faster up until Zelensky listened to the Democrats, listened to Europe, and decided that he was going to play high horse and try and renegotiate live on national TV. Dumb idea. That gave the advantage purely 1,000% to Russia, and they have pressed that advantage. And the only people who have suffered from that is the Ukraine. They're going to lose the East. They'll lose part of the South. Russia is going to get everything that they've taken so far. Ukraine will get nothing, except that they'll be able to continue to exist. There'll be conflict in the region back and forth for the next 10 years, and then they'll start another war. That's what's going to happen. This was always going to happen. There is nothing new. It has been inevitable.
Michael, let me ask you a question, okay? I don't know if you've been thinking about this or not. I'm thinking, besides the ending of the war, the next question after that, who's picking up the tab to rebuild a lot of Ukraine? Who picks up the tab?
Well, in part, we will. Now, by the way, we should also remember Trump deserves the Nobel Peace Prize, because while this is happening, he's going to go into peace talks with Ukraine and Russia, which no other country has been able to do. No one has got them this close. And if it weren't for the interference of international politics, we'd have already been in negotiations already. But Trump also, by the way, today just signed a deal between Azerbaijan and Armenia.
I saw that.
And they don't like each other either. So that's like 6 now. That's six peace talks that the United States has been directly involved in. Yes, not all of them work, but that's 6. Most presidents don't even do 1. Anyway, moving forward. Trump will be instrumental in this. I think he can be very effective in getting this done. The key is it has to happen. The longer that Ukraine fights this, the more Russia will press their advantage, the more Ukrainians will die. What will happen is we will go back in. Once they get the ceasefire, the United States will go back in. We have the mineral rights, and we have an agreement on rights with Russia, which we may also renegotiate in this peace deal, but we'll have those rights. We will go in. And because Americans are going to go in for the rare earth metals, which we need for all those green fanatics out there, you want your windmills and your solar panels, well, we got to get the metals. So we're going to go in. To be able to go in and get those metals, well, first we have to build a road. We got to build electricity. We got to build running water. These are all things the Ukraine needs. We're going to modernize and rebuild everything so that we can get to the metals, so that we can mine them, refine them, and send them back to America. We are going to build their nation for them. But we will get paid for it because we're getting the metals. So
Right.
it is... We're still winning. It's still the advantage to the United States. It is an unfair deal for the Ukraine. Absolutely true. And they have no choice.
Yeah, it's been a disturbing couple of years, I would say, that with the amount of losses with the Ukrainian and to a lesser extent the Russian side, and the humanitarian disaster where you had hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of Ukrainians being spread all over Western Europe and relocated here. I know Ireland has taken in 100,000 Ukrainians over the last 2 years. So it's been catastrophic for the country in so many ways. But what I'm concerned about, and obviously Putin's concerned about, is they don't think they have a partner in peace with Zelensky. And I know there was a lot of stuff saying Zelensky was insisting upon being there with Putin and Trump. I think in the short and long term, if the United States wants to have a rapport with the main country, it would certainly, you want to have it with Russia, whether you hate them, love them, indifferent, it doesn't matter. You have to deal with Russia and, and to a lesser extent, Ukraine. I want it to come to an end because it looks horrific. I mean, I'm not there, but we've spent hundreds of billions of dollars, and God knows what Zelensky and his pals have done with that, or the amount of weapons that have made their way into the black market. So I want it to come to an end. It'll be good for everyone all around. And, we could take that off the list, and maybe we can start working on other conflicts around the world that are almost just as bad.
Well, we're working on them simultaneously, and we're being very successful. Literally, looking at what's happening around the world, we have been massively successful. The United States has gone into places where no one else is being taken serious, where no one else is being listened to, and we have successfully stopped and created ceasefires that have held. Even like Thailand and Cambodia, and just this weekend,
yes,
we were afraid that was going to break back into active fighting, and it didn't. Why? United States. That's why. So, and it has to be the United States talking to Russia. Everyone was saying, "Well, it's Putin because Donald Trump just loves Putin and he's best buddy." Putin's winning. They're the winners. You don't talk to the losers. Of course, the losers will agree to a peace deal. They're losing. They want to end this because they're losing. Their people are dying. They're going to lose everything. Of course, they want to end it. You got to talk to the person winning. You have to convince the person who's winning and saying, you know what? You've won enough. You've taken enough of their land and their resources. I need you to stop. It's not worth it to keep going. That's the argument. And if that means that if you have to make Putin smile as he takes what he's got already and says, I don't need all of it. I can take what I got already. Then that's great. You want to call Putin an evil bastard? Tell him after the fighting stops, not beforehand. Don't do it at the negotiation table. He's not going to say yes.
Michael, from what I'm hearing from you, without you saying it, but when you mentioned, and India, Pakistan also could be thrown in there.
Yeah,
is that President Trump is essentially fulfilling the role of what the United Nations should be doing. But the United Nations have been sitting on their hands, and they'll do nothing while these wars just keep morphing. So President Trump took the leadership, and I understand what you're saying with the Nobel Peace Prize. Yes, I think it's warranted, no doubt about that. But isn't it amazing? This UN, which I walked by a couple of weeks ago, doesn't do jack shit as far as resolving world conflict.
Well, they're not supposed to. I know that's the original idea. Again, there's the concept, and then there's the reality we live in. So people go, oh, but the UN is so great. Yeah, that's a wonderful concept. Here's the reality. Wake up call. We don't live in concepts. We live in reality. And in reality, it's the United Nations is a bunch of pissed off third and second world nations that want everything that the first world has, and they can't get it. Okay. And they're always pissed, and they always want more, and they're always trying to get more. And the UN's always saying, you should give them more. Screw you. No, because then no one will have anything. It means that the only way that all of the third world and the second world gets, you can't lift them all up. You have to bring America down. That's the reality. We have to lose the quality of life we have. We have to lose our resources and our capabilities to match them, because that is easier than trying to bring up all of those nations. We're talking about well over 60 nations around the world, and raise their quality of life up to a standard, God, even close to Spain. Forget about America. Take them up to the standards of Spain and Greece and, second world nations. It's almost impossible. So that's the reality. The UN is a wonderful idea factory. They are the political unicorns and rainbows. You have human rights. Oh, isn't that so wonderful? It makes me feel so warm and fuzzy. I'm doing such a great job. I'm a wonderful politician because I have the UN human rights. Okay, but realistically, human rights mean if I can give you a right, then I can take it away. That's not a right given by God. That's not a guarantee. If I give it to you, then I can take it from you. And if I have someone who's big enough and strong enough, then I can take that. Oh, but what about the war crimes? The UN stops war crimes. You know who stops war crimes? The winner. That's who stops them. Okay? There's no other way around that. You can say you don't like this nation. They're evil. They're bad. Did they win? Yes. Shut up. Did they lose? Yeah, you can punish them all you want. But guess what? They lost. So who cares? No one's going to complain. That's the reality of the world. Whether people like it or not, I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm not saying that that's a laudable thing. I'm saying that's the reality. That is how the world functions. That is the politics, and that's the reality.
No, I got you. No,
deal with that.
Michael, well said. Well said. And if I may comment on this,
sure.
Along the UN lines, I think I told you I was in New York City a couple of weeks ago, and it was a toss-up. It was a friend of mine, political consultant.
Next time, tell me. We'll have a beer.
And he said, "Oh no, I will. I'll call you. I did call you last year, but I know you. I think you were doing something."
No, that was last year. You were just here last week.
No, I hear you. I know. I got to get your number too. I can text you or whatever when I'm in town. It was a toss-up. I said to my buddy, we can either do a tour of Grand Central, which turned out being great, or we can do a tour of the United Nations. Well, now I'm feeling a lot better. I did a tour of Grand Central, which was actually a great tour because I'm a big transit guy too. But yes, the UN. I know you're saying about an ideal or something like that. And I remember before that, Michael, was it the League of Nations in San Francisco? What was the predecessor to the
League
UN?
of Nations.
The League of Nations.
Yeah,
and I know
fiasco.
There's a lot of talk. I know there's talk. There's UN military forces. I know the Ireland's got troops in that as well. But at the end of the day, it's the powers.
They have 60 troops. It's all U.S. It's 75%, 80% U.S. troops. That's UN. That's UN forces. It's the United States.
No, I got you. Well, Michael, listen. We've been going there. We've been going here for a long time, for a while. I know you're used to these marathons. We covered a lot tonight, and unless if you want to bring something else up, we can real quick. But I'd like to wrap it up.
Yeah, my Zazzle. Can you see?
No,
it?
Michael. No, I want you to let the audience know when you're broadcasting, where they can find you on social media. I know you got a real big YouTube presence, much larger than mine. Where can the audience find Michael Voss?
Go to No Soundbites, as you see it spelled with an I. No Soundbites Allowed. That's Rumble, that's YouTube, that's X. Just type it into any search engine. Anywhere in the world, I'll come up. And like the big show is on Sundays, which is usually about a 5-hour show. And I cover everything. And I take questions because I love questions from the audience. Whether you like or agree with me or you think I'm wrong, and people have come out and said, "No, Mike, you're wrong," and I disagree, or you didn't have this source, and here's the correct news, stuff like that. I don't mind. Respect, as long as it's respectful. We go back and forth, but we try to understand the issues, kind of like what we're doing here, but a little bit longer form. And I do that every Sunday. I'm in my 8th year now. So that's season 7, episode 32 will be this Sunday coming up.
Mike, just so the audience knows, you don't have a particular set time, though. You start as a 2 p.m. or
2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay. That's when so everybody knows 2:30. Okay.
Yeah. So I usually end 7:30, but I start at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on every Sunday. Been doing that for about 8 years now. And throughout the week, I do different events and videos and sometimes interviews.
Yes. That's good. That's good. And I watch, I've called into your show on Sunday as well. So I would certainly recommend MatthewJ Show followers to check out Michael Voss every Sunday at 2:30. And make sure you pack a lunch because Michael just doesn't do a 30-minute show. It's going to last you. Pack a dinner maybe, but it's always really good and it's engaging.
I do take one break.
You take a break. Dog. You can take it because I need a break now. I'm getting older. I have to do certain things as I get older, so those kind of things. But Michael, thanks for joining us tonight. It's always an illuminating discussion. I know the audience really enjoys what we go through, and particularly New York City events. I mean, I love New York City. I go up frequently, and yes, you and I will get together for a beer certainly, and we'll try to work out the world's problems and try to find solutions. Absolutely,
we could probably do it.
Yeah, you're damn right we could do it. Especially you're talking to an Irishman here, so I can figure something out here. But thanks again, Michael, for coming on, and we will certainly be in contact soon.
Absolutely. I look forward to it. And thank you to the audience for taking some time to be here with us all. Don't forget to, again, like, share, and subscribe to Matthew J, who gave me the opportunity to be here with you. If you hate me, that's fine. Just go on my channel and tell me how much you hate me or you think I'm wrong. I'm okay with it. Let's go. And come on, bring it on, folks.
That's great, Michael. Voss always keeps it real. All right, Michael, have a great night, and we will be in touch soon. Bye for now.
There's a dragon on the wire, breathing digital flames. No sound bites allowed is the name of his game. With a coffee in one hand and his puppy on his lap, cigarettes curling, smoking his political trap. Michael Voss roars through the screen, he flies, painting red and blue skies with his fiery cry. He's the world's watchdog, calling out the bluff. Right-wing swagger, but his heart's pretty tough. He's a Republican dragon with his truthful slight, fights the battles unseen in the shadows of the night. From policy to passion, he breaks it all down, giving a voice to the voiceless, wearing his crown. Caffeine-fueled mornings, the smoke curls dance, Puppy at his feet, giving life one more chance. Through algorithms and bias, he cuts straight and clear. Michael's roar echoes in the hemisphere. Michael Voss roars through the screen, he flies, painting red and blue skies with his fiery cry. He's the world's watchdog, calling out the bluff. Right-wing swagger, but his heart's pretty tough. No sound bites allowed is his ultimate creed. A dragon's perspective where facts are the seed. Standing tall on his battlefield of thoughts, guarding the truth that others forgot. Michael Voss roars through the screen, he flies, painting red